It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Welcome to the Brouhaha, everybody. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee for another Tuesday night of sports action. How you doing there, my Brouhaha buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I tell you what, I'm doing real good. I always do good when I get a chance to read your sideline view.
Oh, come on now.
I do. I read it every week, and we get it out there, and people love it. I'm one of the people, Dale. I'm just that love your writing, and I say that to you. You got a lot of stuff. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm Southern Mississippi proud. Every time, I'm just reading so much good stuff about the University of Southern Mississippi, in my perspective, about the successes they're having athletically over there. We've had some dry runs here, in the last few years, but we're starting to spread our wings and fly a little bit.
Man, I tell you what, it's like moving from night to day, isn't it?
Really?
Really.
The football
team went to the bowl, and these guys they're going to go to the NIT because for sure the boys are because they won the conference championship, and that's one of the deals. If you win a conference championship and you don't get an NCAA invite, you can do it. Now, will they get an NCAA invite? Well, they're going to have to win the tournament in Pensacola this week. But now they do have an advantage. They don't play. They have two byes. They don't have to play opening round or second round. They play the third round. But the problem is going to be, if there is a problem, is that they're going to have to play South Alabama maybe in that Saturday game. Well, the last time, about 2 weeks ago, they went to Mobile, South Alabama, spanked them and sent them home crying, So we're hoping that doesn't happen this time. But it's like in any sport. You can get drilled one time, don't mean you're going to get it twice. You might can
wake up call.
Figure out how you're going to do it. So anyway, but they still got some tough teams. They did lose. 4 conference games?
Yeah, I think.
And I think the top 3 teams, or a couple of them, beat them. So it's not going to be an easy ride for them. But I got a lot of confidence in them. And either way, I think they've had a great season.
Mm-hmm. Both the men and women.
And the women had they won their last 5 straight, so they
talk about being hot at the right time.
Oh yeah, and of course they finished in a 3-way tie for first, but they only got the 3rd seed because they lost to the top 2 seeds. So I'm very proud of them too. Of course, Mississippi State's women and guys have both won over 20 games. Ole Miss girls are on a roll, and Ole Miss had to make a change, and the present coach is undefeated. He beat LSU Saturday night. Things looking up in Oxford.
That's right. Oh, it's the madness of it all. Man, Mississippi proud, Mississippi strong. I'm going to flip over here, and I see another thing here that's interesting. And, of course, this involves more than the Golden Eagles, but I talk about the Eagles a lot. That's the football schedule coming up this year. We're getting to play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Is that correct?
Yes.
All righty. And of course, I think they got a 30. Maybe 7 or 8 years out, they got a home and home. No, they play state again, don't they?
Yeah, they play them every few years. Now, what is interesting about this year's schedule? They're playing Florida State and Tulane. In Florida State, going to play Florida State now. They're going to play Tulane and Hattiesburg. And of course, they go to Starkville, but and then they have a home game against Alcorn, which is an in-state game. But
that's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah, and so they actually open up in Hattiesburg with them. So I think it's a very attractive schedule. And then you got 4 home and 4 away in the conference. And I think they're going to play a Tuesday night game at South Alabama. But now they have off from the previous Saturday, which would be about a 10, 11-day deal there. And then they don't play again until the next Saturday. And then they play a Thursday night game at Louisiana. But those are probably going to be national televised games. And I'm sure that Tulane and Florida State will certainly be in the package too. And Mississippi State, that might be an SEC now. So they could have a lot of exposure in those 5 ball games, a lot of exposures.
Well, I tell you what, they flew around and beat those 3 teams. Those 3 teams being Mississippi State, Florida State, and Tulane. Son,
Would there be celebrating in the hub city?
It'll be celebrating in Waynesboro, Mississippi, right here.
Okay.
Well, listen, it's we talk about that. Basketball is talked is probably the hottest thing going right now. High school tournaments, or I guess the state tournaments getting underway. Have you got somebody? What you got with us tonight? Who we got tonight?
Well, we got the expert, the Mississippi high school sports expert, and that's Tyler Cleveland.
We've had him a couple of times. I tell you what, that guy knows his stuff.
Yes, and he's actually at the tournament this week, so he's going to give us some really inside great information.
He's up there as we speak, is he?
As we speak.
Well, that's talking about hot off the presses. I tell you what, let's do, Dale. Let's take a break here from a sponsor and come back with Tyler right after this break. What do you say?
That sounds great.
We'll see you right after the break, folks, with Tyler Cleveland. Hang on there.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Tyler Cleveland. How you doing today, Tyler?
Oh, busy day up here at the Mississippi Coliseum, fellas. We're going full throttle with basketball, so it's an exciting time of the year and always a good one.
Well, that's what we want to talk to you about today is basketball. I would like for you to, we'll guide you from 1A all the way through 6A, and you just tell us who some of the favorites are and maybe some of the elite players that people kind of need to watch out for, because I know some of these games later in the week are going to be on television, on these what they call bounce channels. So I just wanted to, kind of give you a timeline or an outline of how we're going to go down here. So let's start out with 1A. Who do you think is going to be the teams in 1A that we need to be looking at this week?
Well, we're looking at, it's going to be Biggersville, on the girls' side, it's going to be Biggersville and Ingomar in the championship. And this is a matchup that's been brewing all season. They're both up there in that northeast corner of the state, which is just basketball mad. And they have not played each other. But they'll meet in the championship Thursday at 1 o'clock. So it's going to be a fantastic ball game. Good players on both sides. Biggersville's got a kid named Asia Stafford, big inside player. She had a double-double in the semifinal. Expecting her. She was the MVP of last year's championship game, which Biggersville won. So expecting big things from her. And then on the other side, with Ingomar, you've got Macy Pfeiffer, the Class 1A Miss Basketball winner. And they have actually had two of their worst outings in their last two games, but won both of them. And they're now in the championship game against Biggersville. So these two teams very familiar with each other, even though they haven't played this season, because they were picked 1 and 2 to start the season. So finally going to get to see the matchup.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. How much of advantage is it for a team that's played there a lot in that environment? Like, if you really got a talented team that's just there for the first time and they have a lot of named players, can you see a difference between the teams that's been there and the kind of the upstart team or the team out of nowhere?
Well, sometimes you can, and it makes a big difference. The bigger difference in playing in Jackson versus playing regular season games is most of the officials here you're going to get are from the Central District, and they tend to call a more physical basketball game than teams from the extreme south or extreme north are used to. You hear that from a lot of coaches, talking about the way the officials call it. They just don't call as many fouls. I mean, you have to be physical when you get here, and I think that's kind of the big difference that you see for teams on this stage.
How big a deal is it with the backboards? This is Marshall, I'm interrupting. One thing I've heard is most gyms are played and the goals are right by a wall, but up there they're suspended out in the middle of big space. Does that make a difference?
It depends. Varies from gym to gym. I mean, there are some backboards that are a little more dead than these in the Coliseum. I mean, these are nice glass backboards, and there's a lot of bounce off of them. So, I mean, you see some teams get here and it just can't seem to get the ball and it's like there's a lid on it. But it's rare at this point because the teams, when they get to this point, you're only dealing with really good teams and good players. So you don't see a whole lot of that.
Well, I just know around here in the past, because you see it on the local television station here in Hattiesburg, they'll say Hattiesburg went over to USM today and practiced, and they were interviewing them from USM or ever what team from around here is going, girls or boys. So I just assume that they're getting that they have to prepare for the space. It just seems like you got a lot more space in a Coliseum or a place like Southern Miss or the Mississippi Coliseum than you do like in one of your smaller gyms around, especially for the 1A teams, I'm sure. All right, well, tell us about the boys in 1A.
The boys in 1A, it looks like it is going to be McEvans and McAdams in the championship game. That's Thursday at 3 o'clock. Looking forward to a really good game in that one. McEvans played a heck of a semifinal, or I guess a quarterfinal, against Biggersville, who was the defending champs, and knocked them off. And really been impressed with McEvans. They are one of those teams that likes to run, and you rarely see that in 1A. But they are so good at it. They cause a lot of problems on the defensive end of the court that leads to most of their offense. So they're a fun team to watch. And then McAdams just finished up their win over West Union in the semifinal, and they are going to be a team to watch. They've got a couple of really good players. They've got good guard play. And can really shoot from the outside. They were just raining threes in here a few minutes ago. So it's going to be a fun 1A championship game.
Well, I tell you what, I love that smaller basketball for sure. You know, they reminded me of the movie Hoosiers, you know, and everything like that. Okay, well, tell us about Class 2A. We've got some local teams from the Pine Belt up there playing in 2A. What's your call on that, or the prediction for maybe the championship games?
Well, we'll start with the 2A girls, and I think that, Belmont has kind of been the team to beat all season, and that doesn't change this week. They won it last year, and they're back in it this year. They're playing Lake in the semifinal in a game that could be close. Lake played really, really well last year. And they've got a girl named Lanisha Palm that is a fantastic player. She's actually I think, 4-sport athlete because I know I've written about her in softball and basketball and track. And I believe she also plays some other sports. So her name comes up a lot. And then on the other side, you've got East Webster and Heidelberg who are going to play Tuesday morning. I know most of your listeners won't hear this until Tuesday. They will probably have played by then. But there's that's a fantastic game too. Don't know much about Heidelberg. Have not seen them this year. But East Webster are a really well-rounded team with some really good guards. So expecting a really impressive semifinal there.
That sounds great. All right, so now we change and move on up the ladder to 3A basketball.
All right. Well, in 3A, we've got Boonville is the team to beat in boys and girls. They both won last year, and they're both back here this year. Then we've got Boonville is taking on Morton. The girls are at 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. Going to be a really exciting game in that one. But I expect Boonville to take care of business. And then on the other side, you've got Kossuth and Forest. Forest kind of the team that came out of nowhere to get here. Kossuth, no stranger to the big house. They were here last year as well. So two veteran teams there. Looking for Boonville and Kossuth to play in the championship, and that's a good rivalry. So it should be a really good final.
Okay.
On the boys' side, Dale, we've got again Boonville playing Morton, so just a repeat,
Yeah.
And then Byhalia versus Southeast Lauderdale. Both of those teams really, really good. Southeast Lauderdale has got some real star power on their team. So it could go either way. Byhalia has been. They're always so athletic when they get here. It's kind of all running together at this point, but I really expect Byhalia to give Southeast Lauderdale a run for their money.
All right, I got you. Yeah, Southeast Lauderdale, I saw them this year. They're very talented basketball team. What about the Class 4A?
In 4A, we have got Pontotoc is playing Quitman, and Louisville is playing Raymond on the girls' side. Louisville has been one of the more fun teams to watch all year. They have a young girl named Jocelyn Houston that's won the Miss Basketball Award for 4A, and she's still alive. They're playing Raymond in a game that's going to be really, really tightly contested. And then Pontotoc and Quitman on the other side, I think either one of those teams could come out. But, you know, it's going to be tough for them to knock off the winner of that Louisville-Raymond game. Those teams are so good. And then on the boys' side, a really exciting Final Four on the boys' side. Yazoo City with Anthony Carlisle, you know, at the helm. You know, he moved over from Velma Jackson after winning a couple championships there. He's at Yazoo City now. They're playing South Pike in the semifinal, which should be a good game. And then on the other side, you've got probably the game of the day to start here on Monday, which is Pontotoc and Raymond in the late game tonight. And I really expect Raymond to take care of business. Like you said, the listeners will already know who won the game. But the kid from Raymond that you got to watch if you get a chance is E.J. Payman. He is a fantastic player. He is the top-ranked prospect in the state of Mississippi. I've seen him once this year. They played Biloxi when Biloxi was ranked number 1 over here at the MLK Day tournament at Mississippi College. And he went for about 37 and 27 or something like that. He's the real deal, 6'7", and a true D1 prospect. So I expect Raymond to take care of business. You know, they've been here. Their team's been here. This will be their 3rd year playing for a title. So expect them to take care of business.
Well, they're almost like a dynasty the last 6 or 7 years, aren't they? Raymond boys?
They are. Their coach, Tony Tadlock, is a fantastic coach. And and he would be the first to tell you that Jimmy's and Joe's beat X's and O's, and they've had them in spades at Raymond.
Yes, they have. Are the Raymond girls as good as the Raymond boys?
Well, I don't know if they're as dominant. They are very, very good. They have as good a chance as anybody, any of these 4 teams, to win a championship. But I mean, in terms of I had Raymond kind of penciled in for the boys' championship before the season started. The girls were more of a surprise. But once you see them, you'll understand why. I mean, they're a very, very well-rounded team. They play really solid basketball, good on defense, which sparks a lot of things for them offensively.
Sounds good. All right. So now we have a lot of 5A teams around here in the Pine Belt, and I think a lot of them are up there. I know on the girls' side you got the Laurel Golden Tornadoes and the West Jones Mustangs, and I believe the Hattiesburg Guys are up there. Tell us about 5A.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think 5A is wide open on both the girls and the boys' side. I have not. I was hoping you could fill me in a little bit about the West Jones girls, but I know Laurel has been competitive all year. Then the other, you've got Callaway. You know, they've got to play Laurel in the semifinal tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be. I think it could go either way, guys. To be completely honest, I mean I think it could be any of these 4 teams. I do expect West Jones to beat Lafayette County, but, you know, strange things happen in this Coliseum. But what's been your impression of West Jones?
I think they're very well coached, and I think they may be probably the better of, I guess, the games I've seen against Laurel. I think West Jones handled them pretty good, and so. I mean, if I was going to go down to or go up to Sandersville and place a little bet, I'd probably have to bet on the West Jones girls, you know. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because my mama's listening, so I'm not going to do that.
Well, I'm hoping for an all Pine Belt final there. I know that would be a lot of fun for the folks in Jones County. On the boys' side, you know, Hattiesburg has really cruised. To be honest, through these playoffs, they, even when they hadn't had their best game, they didn't play very well in the quarterfinal the other night and found a way to win. So I'm not putting anything past them. They have a tough matchup with Canton, though. Canton is big and physical. and really, really quick. They got quick guards. So they'll have to stay in front of those guys somehow. But, I think that's going to be a really good game. And then on the other side, Picayune is playing Provine. And, I don't have to tell you, when you play a Provine at the Coliseum in the in the semifinals, it's never easy. So I expect that to be a tough road to hoe for Picayune. But I think they're fully capable as well.
Yeah, I've seen Hattiesburg, and I think they've won like 14 straight ball games, and so they were 8-7 at one time, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're up there like 22-7. I saw here, in one of your write-ups on SB Live. What about the Class 6A?
Class 6A is really exciting. I mean, we've got the on the girls' side, it's Tupelo and Biloxi, and then Germantown and Harrison Central. Really could go either way in the Tupelo-Biloxi game. Both of those teams are really good. Tupelo got past a couple of really good teams up there in the north to get here, and now they've got a showdown with Biloxi, who's been probably, kind of flew under the radar a little bit on the coast because of, Harrison Central and Hancock, as good as they were before they got put out. So, I'm really excited to see Biloxi for the first time. But Tupelo I've seen a couple of times. They're a very good team. They've got good size for a girls basketball team. I mean, they've got a couple of 6-footers inside that can really do work on the glass. So, don't know how that one will come out, but it should be a good game. Then on the other side, you've got Harrison Central, team that just it's been an incredible year for them. I think they started 15-0. And then they had an 11-game losing streak in the middle of the season. And then it suddenly has clicked about 2 weeks ago, and they got past a couple of really good teams in the playoffs to get to this spot. Who knows what they're going to look like when they get here. I don't know how much energy they've expended just to get to the big house, but they have got a huge test when they get here against Germantown. Because they've got a couple of really good players. Elena Rouser is a fantastic player for Germantown. They're no stranger to the Coliseum. And then, they've got the state's only McDonald's All-American 6A Miss Basketball Madison Booker, who, if you've been coming to games at the Coliseum the past 3 years, you know all about her. She is one of the very best players that Mississippi has ever produced. So just a huge task for Harrison Central against Germantown. I really expect the winner of that game to bring home the gold ball.
Most definitely about Booker. She's one of the all-time greats. Okay, what about the boys 6A?
All right, on the boys' side, we got a couple of Rankin County teams in there. Horn Lake, who upset Starkville. I say upset. They'd only lost one game all year to Starkville. And then they beat them in the quarterfinals the other night in just an absolute nail-biter. So for them to get past Starkville, I was really impressed. Starkville had played so well the second half of the season behind the reigning Mr. Basketball, Mekhi Miles. So for Horn Lake to get by them, really impressive. They're another team that just feeds off defense. They're a defensive-minded team. That's been their focus from the start of the season, and it served them really well. They've only lost one game all season, as I mentioned. And then they're playing Northwest Rankin, who's kind of the upstart here. And my favorite thing, I was reading through the media guide here, and they have a quote from each coach next to their roster, and the one from Northwest Rankin said, "Why not us?" Which I thought was pretty funny, considering the other teams that are in this thing. Then on the other side of the bracket, you've got Olive Branch and Brandon. Olive Branch obviously played for title last year. They are a really, really good team under Coach Rambaugh. They're no strangers to the Coliseum. Been here the past couple of years. And then you've got Brandon, who they're just a senior-laden team that's clicking at the right time. They've had a couple of underclassmen step up. They had injuries late in the year and were able to overcome those. I saw them in the second round. I got a chance to cover their game, and they were without two senior guards in that game. and had a sophomore that came in, started for them, and scored 27, 28 points. So they have guys that can step up. They have depth. But the guy to watch out for is Marcel Bridges, number 10. He is a fantastic player and was a Mr. Basketball finalist. I really expect that to be a really good game.
Hey, that sounds good. Okay, I got two questions. First of all is, when they play the NCAA tournament, a lot of times you hear guard play is just so important in that tournament. What is your opinion of what does it take at this level for our high school athletes? Does guard play, is it that important? Is it the underneath play? What exactly is it?
Well, in my opinion, I think good guard play will get you to the Coliseum, but it takes more than that to win it, especially in the higher classification. You look at Clinton the past 2 years, they had good guards. They won the championship last year and the year before. They had good guard play, but what set them apart was Kamani Hamilton inside. Guys that can protect the rim, that can score at the basket. There's just no replacing that, especially at the high school level, because there's so many teams that don't have it. A lot of teams have really good guard play. Few teams have good guard play and a big man inside who can make something happen, or who can spark your offense when nobody's making buckets.
All right.
So I think it's a combination.
All right, last question. And the boys and the girls, what is the best team that, in your opinion, that you've seen in Mississippi this year, at any level?
That is a very, very good question. I think I'm going to have to go with the Raymond Rangers. Like I said, I've seen them a couple times, but the last time I saw them was on Martin Luther King Jr. Day over at Clinton, and they beat Biloxi, who was ranked the number one team in 6A at the time. And and it wasn't really that close. It could have been a blowout. It was a little bit closer than it could have been, but it was a blowout for all intents and purposes. And I was really impressed with them. I think that they have the best player, which kind of skews things in my head. But I think they may be the best team in the state. If you'd asked me a week ago, I would have told you Starkville. They're a very good team, but they were a very good team as well. But just, I think, came out a little flat offensively against Horn Lake in the quarterfinals last week, and just, got beat by 1 point on a basket at the end. So I think I'd have to go with Raymond at this point. On the girls' side, it may very well be Harrison Central. They're just a really good team. I can't really explain that 11-game losing streak in the middle of the season. They didn't really have injuries. They shuffled their lineup a couple of times, but they have really responded since then, and they've won, I think, 6 out of 7, and the right 6 out of 7, I should say, because they're here. So I really think they may be the best team on the girls' side.
Hey, that sounds great.
Tyler, this is Marshall, and again, I'm the timekeeper, and we're out of time. We appreciate you and all that you bring to the Brouhaha table and to sports across the state of Mississippi. We appreciate what you do. Thank you for taking time.
We appreciate you guys.
Okay. Listen, hang on just a minute, Tyler. We're going to sign off for a commercial, but just hang on. Dale and I right now, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the final segment of the Brouhaha right after this break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everyone. Tyler Cleveland breaking it down for us about Mississippi high school basketball. Dale, I had some preconceived ideas coming in here to this time tonight, and I was thinking, I look at what got me to thinking, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Brandon, I'm looking at Picayune, and I don't know if some of these on the boys' side playing these state championship in basketball. Picayune won a state championship in football, and here they are up there in the big house. Brandon, did they win the 6A or they came in second, didn't they?
To who? Starkville.
Oh, okay. And Starkville is talking about how good a basketball team. Do you see a correlation on? We can't do this on the women's side of the brackets, but on the guys' side, I know here at Wayne County in the past we've won some championships in football and had some really good basketball teams at the same time. Do you think in high school sports, I mean, when you get one team like this in one sport that they even transcend into the other ones?
Well, I think in your smaller schools, most definitely. I think even at a 5A school like a Wayne County or West Jones or a Laurel, you have to have those multiple athletes in every sport. And I think coaches like sharing athletes.
That's our guy.
J-Mar, please.
Give us a break.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
J-Mar. We'll be back.
Anyway, but yeah, I was looking at it too. You look at some of these names like, say, Louisville. Man, they play football up there for a living. Of course, I guess they're bringing their cheerleaders to this event. But you look at the Laurel and the West Jones girls, and Hattiesburg had a great football team this year. Picayune had one. Now the Jackson schools, like a Provine, they probably don't do that well in football, but they're a basketball school. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's face it, a lot of those Jackson schools, they play basketball better than they do football. So I think especially, I saw Bay Springs and Southeast Lauderdale, and I didn't see Southeast Lauderdale play football, but I know Bay Springs football won the state championship, and most of the athletes that played football are playing basketball.
Yeah. Good athletes.
Yeah, just good athletes.
Win at anything.
Yeah. So I think it does, but I think an all-around great sports program is a great sports program in every sport, But I know just watching Wayne County boys basketball, the last time we actually went to state was about in 2015-16 season. And
what happened then?
And you remember what happened then in football? That's DK Metcalf.
Yeah. I can remember back in when we won either the first one or the second one. We went up there to Jackson and played and got put out in the Final Four by Travis Outlaw and Starkville, if I remember. So I've seen that here in Wayne County, but obviously it's not just here; it's other places too. That's why I want to talk about that.
Most definitely.
Then we are out of time. Listen, I appreciate you. I always enjoy our time together. And one quick thing, right? Who's our guest next week going to be?
You want me to?
Let's go ahead. Let them know.
Well, we have scheduled. Well,
that's a big deal.
We have scheduled the former Ole Miss All-American football and baseball player. Who do you think that was?
Jake Gibbs, baby.
Man, you are brilliant. I have to brag on you. Jake Gibbs will be.
He wrote it on a piece of paper and slid it over here to you folks. But anyway, that's it. But for now, listen, you can follow us all week on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and you can see all of listen to all of our shows since we've begun on the YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. But right now, it's time to go, and we got to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.